Hi everyone, let's talk about Arborea. I've just finished a full two-player playthrough for this game. You can see it in action in that video. It's linked in the description, as is the campaign page, where you can see all of the final stuff, that's the prototype, and how to get hold of it and make it happen and stuff. This part's just what I think of the game, if you are interested in that. Bearing in mind I was paid to make the playthrough video. So I absolutely love Arborea. It reminds me of some key things that I love about something like, say, Zolkin. Well, yeah, Zolkin mainly. The idea of worker placement not necessarily being about these spaces and denying other people and all of this. Worker spots kind of shifting around and becoming more lucrative the longer you are willing for those workers to be away from you. So on your turns in Arborea, you're placing your villagers on these tracks that are slowly progressing. You can spend your turn, instead of placing workers, just progressing the track. They'll move a bit at the end of each turn, but the spaces get better and better. Not necessarily completely better. It might just attract a different animal. If I just stay on for just one more turn, it will give me an extra spirit, and that will let me afford this thing and this thing. So you always want to stay on as long as possible, but you're tying that against, how long can I be without these workers? How long can I commit to just this track rather than getting anything else done? Am I helping other people being on this? Because every turn you are advancing these tracks based on how many of your workers are on each of them, and that you can get veteran workers as well that will move the tracks a little bit further. So by you staying on these tracks, you're potentially helping other people along. By joining tracks that other people are on, you think, well, at the end of the turn it's going to progress further and I'm going to help people to these other spaces. So there's a great dynamic in that, and just choosing the web of these 4 tracks leading to 8 different worker placement opportunities, all with their own different paths and rewards. And then there's the extra thing of getting gifts that will reward you at the end of whichever path you went to. So you become even more incentivized to maybe take early options that don't give you as much, but you've got all of these gifts, so it doesn't matter as much because you can get loads of extra and sometimes very different rewards, like, oh, you've always got to come up here to get new ecosystem cards. Well, actually it's a reward as gifts from somewhere else, so maybe I never have to touch that area again. I can concentrate on these other ones because I get it as a reward from there instead. So there's a great worker placement time based element on top of worker placement, but also the idea of shared resources. So the main resource types in the game, they are generated if you spend them on that turn to fulfill your ecosystem cards. They want a certain amount of things to be spent on them. It's all great, that's fine. You get the stuff that's on the card and then it goes out and you can do more with that. But if you choose to leave them out, there is the risk they will be spent by other players, but you get points for doing that. So it adds the tension of, can I afford to generate that thing this turn? I want to generate the thing, get the worker back and do something else next turn. Well, that's great, but the resource is now out there, so other people could potentially use it and take it away from you. Mitigating that, balancing that out, is the fact that you get points, potentially a ton of points, especially if there weren't any of that resource before. You can get tons and tons of points from just generating those resources. Maybe not so many points for actually fulfilling those goals. It's fulfilling the cards and actually placing them in the right places, getting the right creatures in the right positions. That is a lovely kind of spatial puzzle in itself, and the creatures are a shared resource effectively as well. You're generating them from certain spaces, which is the timer for the game. It advances the round counter. You might attract that animal to be out on the board because you've got a perfect ecosystem for it, but unless you can claim it also on that turn, which you can do if you can line up your workers in a beautiful combo-tastic way, then it might not be there for you in the future. The shared resources mean that you can end up thinking, well, I have this card that wants these resources. I've just generated them. Maybe I don't want to fulfill the card this turn. You are at a limit of only fulfilling 1 ecosystem card per turn, so you have to watch out, especially later on as you run out of time to fulfill as many as you've made those resources for at the end. But you might think, well, I just won't spend them. I can see that the other players, they aren't really in a position to fulfill their cards. They don't need the resources I've generated, so maybe I could leave them, have the points for them, and then when my turn comes around again, I can spend them. There's obviously a risk of that people people can gain cards. You can see from the display what they might gain. There's an opportunity for them to wipe the top card of each of the decks, and if they're willing to gamble, they might happen upon a perfect card that uses similar resources that they can fulfill, and now you're left with nothing because you push your luck on maybe whether creatures are still going to be available, whether resources are going to be available. It all works together so well. It is tied up in an absolutely beautiful package, the artwork, and this is lovely, as well as all of the meeples and things. And you can see, like, I'm hogging the screen a little bit, aren't I? But you can see the lovely kind of mosaic of interlacing cards and the creatures on top of them at the end. It's a lovely table presence to the whole thing as well. It's a beautiful theme of getting the villagers together to rebuild an ecosystem and attract creatures to it as well. And I think with the number of different paths and goals and gifts that you can be going for, all kind of shaken up by the other players as well, that things you might not be as interested in, you suddenly might change your mind when you see that certain creatures have been attracted, see that certain resources have been generated. Well, there's a certain shift that I can make to my turn now. Do you want to try and be as efficient as possible? Do you want to just lay a load of workers out and see what happens? See when you fancy taking them off the tracks when the opportunities have finally arisen for you? Do you want to just play it as quick as possible with just a few workers? Do you want to try and generate tons so you can have that kind of monopoly that no matter what anyone does, they're always going to help you a little bit? There's just a massive decision space going on, and I think at the moment anyway, this might be Alley Cat's heaviest game. It is still kind of in the medium heavy kind of section. I'm sure like Autobahn and Tinner's Trail would want to argue, but there we go. That's just what I think, based on the prototype as well. The final version, I can't wait to play. Hopefully I'll be coming to you with that in the future, but for now, it's the present, and Arborea is on Kickstarter. If you would like to see more about it and help to make it happen, the link to the campaign page is in the description. And if you'd like to see my playthrough, which is where I hope you will get the best idea of whether or not you would like the game, this is just me telling you about what I thought of it. But thank you very much for watching. I've got hundreds more playthroughs on the channel, including, hey, Dice Theme Park's got a couple on it. Thank you for watching this one, and hopefully you'll find another one you're into. See you for the next game, everyone. Bye.